Hey there, good morning. Good morning wherever you may be. I'm coming to you from my little office. I'm right on the street here in Mexico and wanted to keep my door wide open so I get a little bit of a breeze this morning. And I'm just super excited to be here with you for what we are calling Day Zero. This is our bonus material for our 5-day challenge, which starts on Monday, which is a free program. So if you want to be a part of the 5-day challenge, you can do that. And I will make sure that you get all of that information in the Facebook page as well as here in the description. So I'll talk about all of that later. Right now, I just want to invite you and welcome you and make sure that you take a few moments to set yourself up so you're comfortable. If you can just move out any distractions that you have near to you so that you're not also checking your phone and on your computer or any of those things. Open a window if you need a little bit of fresh air, rearrange things for yourself, change your seat, get a cushion. I just went and got a blanket and stuck that under my bum. So I'm just right here with you, super excited. Again, so who's here? I'm just gonna say good morning. So please, yep, there. Beautiful day, everyone. This is Jessica. In case it doesn't show up with the new software, it does. And I have great news for those of you who know my world. We had the internet technician come in, and yes, in fact, we were having real internet problems. I wasn't crazy. And they replaced the cables, they've increased the speed, and I'm just sure that our Sunday morning yoga practice and all of these live streams are going to be just a million times better. So just right here with you. Looky, who's here? Stephanie's here, Heather Lewis is here, good morning, Lori's here, Cindy's here. Look at that Facebook user. I don't know who that is. Another Facebook user. Afternoon. That's probably Chrissa Pilgrim or Maria would be my guess. I mean, there's people across the globe as well. So tell me who you are. Good morning, good afternoon, all of it. Here we are. We're all showing up. Okay. So I'm going to scooch my position here just a little bit, lift myself up, hoist myself up. I'm in a standing up desk. I'm seated. It's bar stool height. My beloved partner had it made it for me, and I'm just sitting right here in our little space. I'm gonna just tell the whole truth. Like those who don't know it, I live here in Mexico. I have my door wide open. I think that the neighbor cats were having a fiesta all night long, and it's not quite time for their siesta. So there's just a ton happening on the street, and I'm maybe, I don't know, 3 car widths away from the street. So this is Mexico. Bienvenida a mi casa, bienvenida a mi mundo. Welcome to my house, welcome to my world. I'm just here to share these offerings with you. So who else is here? There's Sandra, there's Desiree, yay! Glorious and Sarah, good morning, good morning. So here's the thing. As we get started this morning, and again, I'm going to do my very best to keep this within about 30 to 45 minutes, and I'm going to be looking off just a little bit off to my right a little bit. You might see that as my left, as your left. I'm going to be looking at the workbook for the 5-day challenge, because that's where I'm going to be pulling a lot of the information for today from. But what I want to do today in particular is lay down a foundation. So taking a step back here and saying, all right, somewhere along the line, women, we were taught that we needed to put everyone first. Big truck going by. That we needed to put people first. We needed to put folks in front of ourselves. And I am of the very high knowing in my bones that there is a balance, right? There is a balance. So yes, it is true that our children need us. Yes, it is true that we have a role to nurture and to respond to others in this life. Yes, it is true. And yes, we can give of ourselves in and through ourselves in so many ways. And there is high value in that, no question. It is also true, as you learn the very first time that you ever fly in an airplane, which might feel like it's been quite some time since you've done that, but you know, what do you do with the oxygen mask? You put it on you first. And why do we do that? Because if we're not well, if we're not balanced, if we're not grounded, if we're not fortified, if we are not resourced, well-resourced, there is nothing good, nor impactful, nor potent, nor sustaining that we can do for another person. And you know that. So I'm just inviting you to share what it is that you know to be true in your own life about this. Comment, please. Say what it is that you know to be true. You know, give me an amen when you see that, when that feels right to you in any of these teachings, etc. And then I'm just going to jump right on into the science. Okay? So, oh good, there's Karen. Wonderful. Look, you guys, look who all's here. You're all just showing up, and I'm just loving you. I'm so glad you're here this morning. So here's the deal. Right? Here's the deal. I'm going to take a step back and it's a step up. We're looking at self-care from a, let's call it a 10,000 foot view. And the reason I want to do that today is not because I want to convince your mind that self-care is important to you, but I want you to see what it is and what it's not. And I want you to see how by turning your attention to fortifying your internal resources, that what ends up happening is we share of ourselves, in ourselves, and through ourselves with the world so much more, with much deeper impact and potency. And we are also able to think more creatively and problem solve from a place of a much greater perspective. And I'm not sure about you, but for me, I know in my bones that this is uber important. I know that I need to be well resourced. I need to look at what's happening in my body, in my heart, in my life, in my home, in my community, in my world. And I need to be able to go, okay, these are the facts. And what am I going to do about that? What can I do about that? What can I really, really do about that? Where is the impact that I can make? So that's where I want to go with this today. So in taking that step back, I want to just say, what is self-care, right? When I speak from that place, what do I mean? What I'm talking about is anything that is going to fortify you and nourish you in a way that is going to help you take better care of yourself, others, and the world. That's what I mean when I say that. In the long run. So self-care is something that feels good to us in the moment and makes positive impact in our lives, other lives, or the world in the long run. Right? In the long run. So that's what I have to say. Okay? That's how I want to define for you today self-care. And the reason I want to lay it out that way is because I want us to know that running off to get a pedicure between meetings is not self-care. Also, scheduling a massage when we're really stressed out and then rushing out of that massage to get back into work, that also is probably not self-care either, not in the big picture. Because what we're doing is we're packing something into our lives that we hope will make an impact or that we have heard will make an impact, but we diminish the impacts of that positive expression, of that thing that could have been so good for us by cramming it between the stressors of our lives. So I'm not all about dropping the ball of our lives and going in doing self-care activities and then returning to the chaos of our lives. I am much more about how do I live self-care? How do I turn my attention to living in a way that feels good and that is sustainable and making an impact in my life and in the life of others and in the world at large. So those are the criteria. It's got to feel good, right? It's got to feel good when it's happening. and it has to have a lasting impact. So in the comments, I'd love to have you say how it is that you practice self-care. What is it that you do? Just rattle off a few things. How do you know, right? There you go. Linda said, I'm sitting here with you all in the sun on this chilly afternoon. That is self-care. If you've ever sat in the sun, right? Sat in the sun and felt the rays penetrate your skin. Now, I'm going to practice self-care right here, right now. I'm going to do two things. I'm going to go grab my scarf because I opened that door right before you came and I didn't expect it to be so chilly here and I'm feeling a little chilled. So I'm going to just do that, right? It's going to feel good and it's going to be best for everybody in the long run. It might not be what my internet coaches would tell me to do, but it's what I'm going to do because I'll tell you why in a second. Okay, so why do I do this? Because you've heard me say this. Being well adjusted, I'll say that again. You know where I'm going, some of you. Being well adjusted to a profoundly sick world is no measure of health. So just because you have a habit of jumping in and taking care of other people as the default doesn't mean it's actually in their best interest or yours. So that's the first thing. The second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a drink of my smoothie. I could have water, but I have smoothie. It's a warm smoothie, actually. It's a tepid, like room temperature. Which is another act of self-care. Why tepid? Because it's a little bit chilly here. My family in Minnesota is going, it is not chilly. You're in a short sleeve shirt with your window open, or with your door open. Relatively speaking, if my body feels chilled, I don't do a freezing cold smoothie. I do a tepid smoothie. So I'm taking a little sip of my smoothie. I have my stand-up desk. I'm probably going to stand up for part of this. I'm probably going to sit down. That's an act of self-care. Okay, so I'm just like, oh, okay. So when you look at what these rituals look like, when you look at what these practices look like, self-care practices, I want to see and hear. So strength training, cardio, meditating, Pavanmuktasana, if you don't know what that is, message me, right? Private message me and I'll make sure that you get a deeper understanding of what Pavanmuktasana is. It is the bomb in ancient yogic practices. Morning ritual, meditation, personal practice, and journaling. This starts my day off well. And loving the pilgrim sankalpa. So sankalpa, the word sankalpa means divine intention. So we set a divine intention for 108 days during pilgrim. You can do that for yourself as well. You can pull a card for yourself. You can join an app that offers you some sort of inspiration for the day. There's one, I think, my friend Anna told me about it. Some of you know Anna Marti. I think the app is called this. It's called Croak. It's an app. It's a phone app, and it literally is helping you remember that you're mortal. Now, why is this self-care? Because it brings us right back to the moment. So we think, okay, if this was my last day on the planet, what would I do? What would I not do? How would I show up? How would I not show up? Where would I put my energy? Where would I not put my energy? That's self-care. Morning ritual, meditation, yoga, personal practice, all of these things. Morning meditation, yes. So you all have your practices. I rise before sunrise. That's a super important thing to me. I'll talk more about this in our 5-day challenge. I rise before sunrise. I have a schedule that I set for myself. So I'm like a hummingbird, right? I'm like a hummingbird. And so I can go a million different directions. I've got a million things going on all the time. It's my nature, and it's my nature. And if I'm not careful, self-care falls aside. So that's why I'm here with you. That's why I'm teaching this, is because I know in my bones and in my blood that when I tend to my self-care, everything is different. It's like I ground my nervous system, which we're going to talk about. So in that way, we want to look at the ways in which that we root ourselves in our practices, that we root ourselves in self-care. So now why, right? Stepping back, this is what I really want to talk to you about today. Nervous system function. So, you know, we have sympathetic nervous system and we have parasympathetic nervous system function. right? So sympathetic nervous system, we learned in school a gazillion years ago that sympathetic nervous system was fight or flight. Fight or flight. Parasympathetic nervous system is rest and reflect, right? So what we know is that our sympathetic nervous system, we often hear the story about the saber-toothed tiger. There's a saber-toothed tiger chasing you. I don't know why it's saber-toothed, but the saber-toothed tiger is chasing you. And you're going to fight or you're going to flee, right? It's more than that, right? So this is more than fight and flight. There's actually at least 5, if not 6 and more F words, fight or flight, F words. You do fight in a stressful situation, you do fight, or you flee, or you fornicate. I'm going to put 3 fingers up. Or you fornicate, or you freeze, or you feed, or you fawn. So fight, flight, freeze, fornicate, feed, or fawn. And fawn is where we totally check out and we go, yeah. And we plaster a smile on our face, while somewhere our nervous system is either on high drive and shut down. So I'm going to give you a real example, and I think I have a video of this. When I lived in Vernonia, Heather, you'll appreciate this story. So we lived way out, like 8 miles out of town, dead end road, 7 miles out of town, dead end road. And one day I was driving out, and a deer was in the road, and I slowed down, and then I saw that she had just given birth, because they were still wet, to 2 twin fawns. This is where the word comes from, on the side of the road. And I was like, oh no. So I had it in my evolved brain that I was going to help. So they were still wet, but they were moving and active, and they were trying to stand up, and I had all these thoughts of logging trucks come and running them off the road. So what I did is I got out of my car and I walked over to the babies. The mom took off, went into the forest and started snorting, etc. And I looked at the babies, and immediately the babies went comatose, like they were dead. That's fawning, right? That's fawning. So something in them, instead of releasing stress hormones, which would then attract a predator, and if they were to get up and run, if I was a real predator, if I was that saber-toothed tiger, I would go after them, because there would be the chase ensued, right? Instead of that happening, they just acted like they were dead, in the hopes that the predator would turn and leave. Now, I wasn't really a predator, and I got it right quick that this is no place for me, and Mama's going to take care of it, and Mother Nature's going to take care of it, so I'm going to get right on out of here. So I just took off and left, but I knew in that moment that that was something that I had experienced in my own life. Our nervous systems do the same thing. When we're in stressful situations and we go, okay, I'm not going to address conflict here. I'm going to dumb down and numb out my own internal response, which then messes with the ecosystem within my own body, my own being, for me to be able to respond honestly, with integrity, internal alignment. I shut that all down. I'm non-responsive, and those stress hormones have nowhere to go. 100 years ago, they had somewhere to go. Where did stress hormones go? They went into sweeping the floor. They went into walking a mile to town to get water. They went into grinding flour to make bread. They went into milking the goat. They went into putting new shoes on the horse. They went into beating the rugs. They went into cutting wood. They went into walking the kids to school in the winter, uphill both ways, right? You know the stories. Like, life was harder. Those stress hormones had somewhere to go, so that they could be dissipated through the blood system. For us now, we sit on our phones, the stress hormone rises, or we sit in a meeting, And where do they go? Then we get up and walk out of the meeting and get in our cars and drive somewhere, and where do they go? And we get into our office or go home, right? If we had to be somewhere in a meeting, and now we've been sitting and we've been doing a lot of that, right? Poundemia, putting on a lot of weight, right? Those stress hormones are part of this whole mix. So fight or flight, fight, flight, freeze, fornicate, feed. Fornicate can be any, it's sexual in nature, but it also is root chakra, it's base response system. So that base response system within us is doing what? That base response system within us is doing some sort of 5 sense overload. I'm going to buy all these things on Amazon, right? All the addictions. I'm going to go drink some wine. I'm going to go eat some brownies, right? I'm going to doom scroll. I'm going to sit and watch this news story about what's happening in the world over and over and over again, right? These are all ways in which that we settle into and stay stuck in the stress response, which is the sympathetic nervous system. That's the limbic stem of the brain. That's lizard brain. Now here's the deal. That serves a super high purpose in our lives when we are in high stress, life or death situations. Because I don't want energy going to my digestive system and to supporting my body and recuperating if I'm not going to have this body in an hour because I'm going to be in the belly of a saber-toothed tiger, right? What I want ultimately in a high stress life or death situation is I want that stress response to kick in. What I don't want is to live in that stress response. And what has largely happened for us in our Western capitalistic world is we're living in the stress response. We're actually invoking it in ourselves. We're invoking it in ourselves. Now, that's okay if we use it as a training mechanism, like high intensity interval training, for example, where we run really fast and then slow down, and run really fast and then slow down. Push ourselves to our limit and then relax. Proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitation. Squeeze all the muscles, all the muscles, all the muscles. Tight, 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 tight. Relax. That's okay if we use it as a way in which to train our nervous system. But we can't live there all the time. If we live there all the time, what ends up happening is we go on overdrive. When we go on overdrive, we exhaust our nervous system. We exhaust our immune system. COVID would like that, right? We exhaust our body, our mind, our heart, and our spirit. And when we are exhausted, we are no good for ourselves, others, or the world. And then what do? We numb down and dumb out. So what do? We get up in the morning and we have 3 cups of coffee. And we drink those cups of coffee because we think they're somehow going to wake us back up and bring us back into our awareness and our connection to the world. And they'll do that for a little while. But caffeine, as an example, over the long term, it's digging in, it's dipping into your savings account, your energy savings account. Right? It's not like minting gold, right? So, or minting money. It's not spinning gold. It's digging into the resources that you already have. And so in this way, what we want to do is we want to keep turning our attention to the ways in which that we can gradually spend the time when we're not in life or death situations or high stress situations, not in that limbic stem of the brain, but we want to move into relaxation response. So you've got sympathetic nervous system, which is limbic stem part of the brain, and you have relaxation response, parasympathetic nervous system, which is neocortex. When you live in neocortex, when you live there, You live in a world that is full of possibilities. This world comes first, right here. This body, this skin bag. This world is full of possibilities. This world is relaxed and responsive versus being reactive. I'm not right on the edge of reactivity. But I know that if I need to react because life or death comes my way, a life or death moment comes my way, I know that I'm going to be able to flip the switch. I'm not going to have a choice. Somebody's selling something on the street. I'm not going to have a choice to not go fight or flight. My body's going to do that naturally. But I want to live as much and as often as I possibly can in the relaxation response. Because this is where I'm an interconnected part of the world. This is where I default to we instead of me. This is where I know that I live in a universe that is conspiring on my behalf in every given moment to give me exactly what I need to raise me up into the next best and highest evolution of myself. That's what I know to be true when I'm in that relaxation response. So that's why we want to do self-care. Now, how do we enter into self-care? Right? That's my next question. How do we enter into self-care? How do you know you're there? So I'm just going to take a step back. I'm going to take a moment. I would love to hear what your thoughts are. Does it make sense to you? Do you understand what I'm saying when I speak about stress response, limbic stem of the brain, fight, flight, freeze, fornicate, feed, fawn, right? The F words. And how we don't want to live there, but we want to be able to access it in real times of fight or flight. And we want to spend more of our time in parasympathetic nervous system response, more time in rest and reflect, more time in responsiveness versus reactivity. Right? Does that make sense? Playing possum, exactly. The polyvagal theory in action. I wonder if that's key. I wonder if that's my teacher who's saying that. The polyvagal theory in action. Key McGraw is, I'm just going to, whether she's here or not, whether that's her. Key McGraw is one of my devout teachers. I just have two. I got a dude and an amazing woman, goddess. And she's the goddess teacher, beautiful human being. You can find her on Facebook as well at Hatha Yoga Center. She's brilliant. So yes, indeed. So default to this instead. Okay, default to we instead of me vibrates. That's great. Yeah. So keep it coming. I'd love to continue to hear if there's anything else. All right. So Lou, enjoying my view from my bed after choosing to get back into it after a very creative, productive week. 6 days straight of pre-dawn hike for sunrise, watching at the top of our town's little mountain. Love to you too, Lou. Lou was in my last yoga teacher training at the yoga farm. No checking computer or phone before moving my body by taking a walk, finding a turkey feather on the path. Exactly. No checking computer or phone before moving my body. That's a huge one. Not going right into the ways in which that we habitually can fall into going right to our technology. Those are habits. Lori Maxfield Smith, around 5 years ago, I made a promise with myself to do something for myself each month. Acupuncture, chiropractor, massage. Exactly. Now, what's beautiful about what Lori's saying, and she knows this because she's also a mind-body therapist, a body therapist. One of the things that is super important to remember is that when we schedule those things, massage, pedicure, etc., schedule out the time before and the time after. So if something's going to take you an hour, schedule out 4. Let it be a half-day thing, if at all possible. or at the very least, allow yourself for it to be at the very end of the day so that you come home and you don't have to rush in and get something done. If kids are waiting for food or something of that nature, know that you can set it up so that you've got things ready to go in the slow cooker. You've pre-planned on the other side of it. So you walk in the house and you're like, oh, I smell dinner. And it's right there and it's ready for you. So it's the same thing with fasting, right? When we fast, we do that same thing. That's a whole other topic. Treated myself to a massage this morning. How beautiful. Yes, so we're right there. What else? So totally makes sense, makes good sense and resonates with me. This is so timely as I move into my tax season, living in stress response. Exactly, right? Who is that? That must be a tax accountant. It just says Facebook user on this end. So this is the thing. This is what I want to offer you today. This is why I'm doing this 5-day challenge, self-care challenge. It's not just about like journaling and telling ourselves that we're beautiful, although those things are helpful. It's about filling our lives with the higher things so that that which doesn't serve us falls away. It does not serve us to live in stress response. Doesn't. It does not serve us to be overly caffeinated in the morning, need that upper in the morning, and then need to drink wine at night to bring us down. That doesn't serve us in the long run, and it doesn't serve your family. It certainly doesn't serve your community, and it doesn't serve the world by any means. So my intention with you in this 5-day challenge, if you want to be a part of it, I would love to have you be a part of it. You can scroll all the way down to the bottom in YouTube. If you're on YouTube watching this, you can scroll all the way down to the bottom of the description, and there's the link for how you join the 5-day challenge. That's there for you. If you're on Facebook, the first thing to do is to just go to the search where you look for somebody's name and you put 5, spell it out, F-I-V-E, day challenge with Britt B, self-care challenge with Britt B. Steele. 5-day self-care challenge with Britt B. Steele. It's a group. And all of this, the 5-day challenge, is going to happen in that group, okay? So I'm inviting you to come on over there. And we're going to start on Monday. And I'm going to come to you for 5 days. I have a beautiful workbook that I've been working on all week for you. And so that will go out to you on Monday morning. But you got to join the Facebook group. And you have to go to my website, brittbsteele.com, and I'll list this. It's all available in the Facebook group. You can start there if you're like, wait, too much information. Just go on Facebook, 5-day self-care challenge with Britt B. Steele. If you're not doing Facebook, never you mind. Just go to my website, Britt B. Steele, and you'll see 5-day self-care challenge at the top. Click on that and it'll take you in and you'll get it. So what this means is you are going to get a link to a live session with me that you can come to live. It's going to happen every single day. I'll send you all of the details. For those 5 days, there'll be a live session and it will be recorded and it will be there for you. You'll be able to keep it. Then you'll have a workbook. And this is a way that we turn our attention to these self-care practices. We turn our attention to the relaxation response. We turn our attention to the ways in which that we can fortify our nervous system and resource ourselves so that when stressful situations happen, we can think creatively, we can problem solve creatively, and we're not exhausted, we're not overwhelmed, we're not scared to death, we're not losing sleep at night, but instead we're acknowledging what's happening and what's going on in the world, and then we're turning our attention to what we can control and the ways in which that we can control things. That's the key. That's the way that we want to be able to do that. So today, all I really wanted to do with you, and we'll see how we're doing. Good, I'm keeping close on time. All I really wanted to do with you is to lay out the difference between stress response and relaxation response and how we don't want to live in that stress response. And many of us are living there. We don't even know we're living there, but we're living there. If you feel uninspired, if you feel exhausted, if you feel easily agitated, easily reactive, if you feel as though you're living in a world that's going to hell in a handbasket, if you feel as though you're not waking up rested in the morning, if you feel as though, what's the point of all of this? If you feel any of those things, I'm telling you, there's a super high likelihood you've been living in stress response. It's natural, but we have to consciously turn ourselves to relaxation response. And when you turn yourself to relaxation response, you're going to have in place practices that are going to set you up so that you are more inspired, you're sleeping better at night, your digestive system is working better, your immune system is functioning better, right? You're able to be of higher service to your children, to your partner, to your community, to your world. You're able to take information in. You're able to say yes when you can say yes and do those things well. You're able to say no where and when it's time to say no, and you're able to let go of guilt and shame and anger and rage and all of these things, because those things do not serve us. Guilt and shame will keep you stuck. Guilt and shame will numb out and dumb down your immune system response. Right? We don't want that. We want you to feel deeply interconnected. This community, we want you to feel deeply interconnected to your own heart, to the reason that you rise each morning. I want you to wake up in the morning and be excited about what's coming, to be excited about what's happening. I don't want you to tune out what's happening in the world. I want you to see it. But I want you to see it for what it is. And keep turning yourself back to, okay, what can I do today to positively impact my world? You know, there's a good reason that Gandhi made big news with be the change you want to see in the world. That starts here. That starts how we fortify our nervous system through our five senses, right? These are the ways that we do this. This is the way in which that we deeply touch in and tap in to what's most meaningful to us at the core of our being. So what do? What's the next step? You can take this information and you can run with it, and that's perfect. That's great. You can share this video any way that you so choose with your people. I'm going to turn the Facebook video public if it's not public, or excuse me, the YouTube video public, so you can just copy and paste that and share that with anyone and everyone that you'd like. And then you can invite people to join the Deep on the Mat page, and they can watch this video anywhere that they so choose at any time, and this might be enough. If, however, you're like, all right, I'm interested in doing this 5-day challenge. I might not be able to be there live every day, and I might not get it all in 5 days. It might take me a couple weeks to get through the content, but you want to do that, and you want the workbook, and you want to be able to sort of move through some ways in which that you make this your best year yet, no matter what's happening in the world out there. Then you're going to do one of two things. You're going to go to my website, brittbsteele.com. You're going to go to the top, and you're going to click on the 5-day challenge. You're going to put your information in. You're going to receive an automated email, and that's going to take you to the Facebook page. And then you're going to get a message from me on Monday morning, and I'm going to send you the workbook. You're going to get the workbook, and then we're going to go live on Monday. Or you can go straight to the Facebook page and do it the other way. If you're on Facebook already, you just go right on up there, and you do 5 days. Spell out the word 5. Spell out the number 5. F-I-V-E. 5-day self-care challenge with Britt B. Steele. You're going to request to join that group, right? And then when you request to join that group, I'm going to say, yep, you're in the group. Then you're going to be in the group. Then you're going to watch the welcome video. And then you're going to go to the website. You're going to click through there and do it that way. So that you make sure that you're both in the Facebook group if you're on Facebook, and you're on my email list so that you get the workbook and you get the links if you're going to do it all on YouTube. So that's the key, right? Now, here's the other key. What I would love for you to do right here, right now, what I'd love for you to do if you're in the Facebook group, because community is key. Community is key. We can't do this alone. And for those of you who are watching on YouTube, I know there's a lot of people out there who don't like Facebook. I don't necessarily like Facebook. I don't use Facebook for anything other than this. I use my willpower to say, you know what? I'm coming on Facebook, but I'm not engaging in anything except 108-day pilgrim, deep on the mat, sharing what I feel most is important to me, making connections with the people that are of high value to me, and then the 5-day self-care challenge, and then my business groups, and then I step out. I'm not part of Facebook per se, but I use Facebook for all it is, and that's a beautiful place for us to be in community. It's the best that's out there right now still. So this is where we come together in community. So if you're in that Facebook group already, because I've sent invitations to a number of you already, if you're in that 5-day self-care Facebook group already, 5-day challenge, self-care challenge Facebook group already, then what I would love to have you do is threefold. I'd love you to introduce yourself. Just say, hey, this is who I am. This is where I am. A little bit about you. I'd love to have you say, you know what? I'm committed to just showing up when I can, how I can, for these 5 days of teachings. And then I would love you to make a list. I would love you to make a list. I'm laughing because a woman just now, a message dropped down. She's like, I'm in. I love that. So what I would love is for you to make a list of 20 ways in which you feel alive, aligned, and in love. What are the things that you do? Make a list for yourself for pre-day 1 of 20 things. Post that list in our Facebook group. Write it in your journal, right? Whatever it is that you want. Share it with us because I guarantee you will inspire us. Already, there's some of the things that y'all are doing that I'm like, I need to do more of that. Like when I go for my hike, my walk, my run in the morning, whatever it is, my walk in the morning, I need to be on these cooler days, I need to just stand and let the sun kiss me. Oh yeah, that's right. I remember doing that as a little girl, waiting for school to start out on the playground. Because my mama was working inside in school. She was a teacher's aide and it was cold in Minnesota in the winter. So that's a way in which that I can return to it. So thank you for that inspiration. I'm sure there's tons of ways that you turn to self-care within your own life. So make a list of 20 things, your top 20 ways in which you feel alive, aligned, and in love, like in the ocean of love, right? Then I want you to ask yourself this question. Ask yourself this question. Which nervous system do I want to live in? Do I want to live in reactivity? Do I want to live in fight, flight, freeze, fornicate, feed, fawn? Do I want to live there? Or do I want to live in responsiveness? Do I want to live in a world where I feel and know and sense the deep connection to a universe from which I've come, in which I exist, right? That's not going to change. From which I come, in which I exist, that I know is conspiring on my behalf in every single given moment to give me exactly what I need to raise me up into my next best and highest evolution. Where do you want to live? So introduce yourself, right? Share your top 20 ways that you feel aligned and in love. And then ask yourself the question, where do I want to live? Which nervous system do I want to be my default? Aha. Very good. So there it is. So I will offer that to you today as our little introduction. Heather, you're asking, would love to hear you speak on the difference between being tamasic and being relaxed. I'm going to speak to this now just briefly, and then we'll definitely unfold it more in our 5-day challenge. So Heather's using a word that is in Sanskrit. It's tamas, T-A-M-A-S, tamas. And there's 3 different essential ways that energy moves. There's tamas, rajas, and sattva. And tamas is essentially an object in motion. An object at rest wants to remain at rest. Rajas is an object in motion wants to remain in motion. And sattva is harmony. And I'm totally simplifying that. So the difference between being relaxed and being tamasic is when we are tamasic. I would describe it as being thick and stuck and heavy and dull. I'll just stay with that. Thick, stuck, heavy, dull. And when we are relaxed, we are responsive, open, aware, and ready for whatever is coming our way. We don't feel heavy, we feel spacious. We don't feel stuck, we feel plugged in. We don't feel thick, we feel boundaryless. That is relaxation response. Tamasic is what happens when we wear ourselves out because we have exhausted and burnt out our nervous system, our stress response nervous system. There it is. All right. I love you. You are loved. Share this with your friends. Please invite as many people as possible to join us for the 5-day challenge. It can happen today, tomorrow, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. You can keep inviting them. Invite them to come and to join us. They'll be able to join even after the program ends. It will be up for 1 week after we finish the program. So the 5-day challenge, although we start together and the live sessions will begin on Monday, and they'll be there for 5 days straight, we will continue to have the content available to you afterwards. So please do come. I hope this has been useful to you. I love you. I want more than anything. I want you to know your wholeness. I want you to know your completeness. I want you to know your fullness. I want you to know your power. And I want you to wield that power in grace and in goodness and in love. I love you. Thank you for being here. Glorious day to you. Share it. Pay it forward. I'll see you on YouTube. I'll see you in the 5-day self-care challenge with Britt B. Steele. Big love. Ciao.